If you're talking to someone and they suddenly look away, fidget, or touch their face, does that mean they're lying? In this video, I'm going to explain what the research from psychology tells us about detecting lies from body language. Then I'll give you a practical, everyday approach you can use to make more careful judgments about the veracity of information. A major meta-analysis in psychology tackled a simple question. When people try and spot lies versus truths, how accurate on average are they? The results indicated that people are only slightly better than chance at detecting lies. And that's why confidence in your ability to detect lies from someone's body language can be very misleading. So why isn't body language more reliable when it comes to detecting lies? Because intuitively it feels like it should be. First, the signals are often small. Take one of the most commonly used body language tells, eye contact. People tend to believe that someone looking away is an indication they're lying. But across research, gaze behaviour is not a reliable deception cue. And eye contact isn't a special example here. When researchers have examined an array of proposed cues, verbal and non-verbal, things like fidgeting, posture shifts, pauses, vocal tension, the results are consistent. Differences between lying and truth-telling can show up, but they're often subtle, and they don't work the same way for everyone in every situation. Looking away can reflect thinking, anxiety, culture, power dynamics, or just being put on the spot. Even when a cue has some relationship to deception in a lab task, it's rarely strong or consistent enough to function as a reliable lie detector in everyday life. The second reason that body language can't be reliably used to detect lies is that we often confuse discomfort with deception. In other words, we treat anxiety cues as evidence of guilt. But anxiety can be caused by a range of things such as social pressure, power dynamics, fear of being judged, neurodivergence, or just past experience. So observing that someone looks nervous often tells you more about the situation than whether they're telling you the truth. Relying on anxiety cues means that you can end up distrusting honest people who just happen to look a bit more nervous, and trusting dishonest people who are very calm. Okay, so if you can't trust these kind of body language tells to indicate when someone is lying, what about microexpressions? A microexpression is a very brief facial movement, think fraction of a second here. And the idea is it reveals someone's true reaction to something before they get a chance to conceal it. Popular psychology has jumped on this and promoted the idea that if you can see micro-expressions consistent with fear or contempt, that's an indication that someone is lying. But here's the problem. Even if you can spot such micro-expressions perfectly, they still don't reliably point to a lie. This is because the claim that they do point to a lie rests on three assumptions. Assumption 1, lying produces a specific emotion that leaks onto the face. The problem is, deception doesn't have a stable emotional footprint. People lie for different reasons: politeness, panic, self-protection, embarrassment, and these different reasons don't always produce the same emotion, let alone the same facial expression leak. Assumption 2, if you see an emotional flash, it must mean the person is lying. This is where micro-expressions inherit the biggest problem of body language tells, their non-specificity. Fear, shame, or tension can show up because someone is lying. But they can also show up just because someone is being accused, evaluated, pressured, or filmed. Reviews of the non-verbal deception literature indicate that people are often confident about the signs of lying, but those signs are easy to misread because context changes behaviour. As we said earlier, what looks like deception can often just be discomfort. Assumption 3, micro-expressions are common and clear enough that training turns you into a reliable lie detector. But even when researchers test micro-expression training tools, the results don't justify the kind of hype you often see online. Training can help people get better at spotting facial movements, but that improvement doesn't automatically carry over into reliably detecting deception. So when you consider what the evidence says in relation to the three assumptions we've just talked about, you're left with a fairly straightforward conclusion. Micro-expressions tell you that someone is feeling something, but they don't reliably tell you that that person is lying. So, if looking out for someone's body language and micro-expressions isn't a reliable way to detect deception, then what should we be doing instead? The researchers who study deception interviewing ask, what can I ask that makes truth and fabrication easier to separate? Good questions give you details you can compare and check. So a fabricated story has more chances to wobble, and a truthful account has more opportunities to provide verifiable details. Here are 3 characteristics of a more careful approach to detecting deception. First, look for patterns, not single tells, because in everyday life we're less interested in catching people out than we are in reducing guesswork or bad information when something important is at stake. A single behaviour is almost never evidence by itself. For example, people can break eye contact when they're thinking. So instead of concluding, they looked away, therefore they must be lying, treat it as a prompt to slow down and gather more contextual information. Second, ask for verifiable specifics. These are just details that can be subsequently checked. Truthful accounts often include checkable anchors, things like times, names, records, sequences, especially when the claim concerns something that should leave a trace. Fabricated accounts are more likely to avoid checkable details. So, you ask questions that make verification easier. For example, a friend tells you that they've already booked tickets for a concert. You could ask a question like, can you send me the confirmation? Or, what time are we leaving? If they were telling the truth, those details should be straightforward. If they weren't, then you may get vagueness or delays or details that don't hold up to further scrutiny. Third, verify without accusing. This is where people often get stuck because they think that checking has to sound like an accusation. It doesn't. Instead of asking for proof, you set up a process that makes both errors and lies harder to maintain. For example, asking a colleague to send you an email chain so you're briefed more fully on the background to a situation. You say things like, let's put it on the calendar so we don't miss it. Can we write down the next steps so we're both clear? Or, let's loop the rest of the team in so we're all on the same page. Notice what this does. You're not claiming that someone is lying, you're setting up a system where the truth is easier to confirm. These 3 characteristics combine to create a simple rule. Don't try and read people, set up a checkable reality. Be good to yourselves and each other, and I'll see you in the next video.